1 week before I left for the Galapagos, I had nothing planned. No cruise, no tours, no itinerary, just a plane ticket. Everything I had read about the Galapagos, an archipelago off the coast of Ecuador, indicated that you needed to book months in advance, maybe even a year ahead. If you didn't, cruises would be sold out, popular tours would fill up, there wouldn't be any hotels available. I ignored all that, and this turned out to be one of the best trips I've ever taken. If you're new here, I'm Jean, and this is Ed the Explorer, my mascot that travels with me, the world's most well traveled wolf. And this channel is about independent travel for people in retirement. Little did I know on this trip I would end up snorkeling in deep water, and the icing on the cake, I spent thousands less than I would have spent on a cruise. Stick around. I will tell you exactly how much this trip cost and how I saved thousands. Here is how this crazy idea happened. I was sitting on the balcony with a friend, and he had a short travel window available. So we started throwing out ideas of where could we go for 10 days with flying time under 7 hours. I mentioned the Galapagos because it has been on my bucket list for years. It is one of the few places in the world where wildlife is not afraid of people. And also, there are species there that don't exist anywhere else in the world. But we didn't think we could find a cruise at the last minute, and if we did, it would be super expensive. So we looked into whether you can visit the Galapagos on a land based trip. The answer was yes. A few days later, I got a text from my friend and it said, book this. It was a flight round trip to San Cristobal, Galapagos. So I did. People couldn't believe I was leaving in 7 days. Once we decided to skip the cruise, we had another decision to make. Which islands would we visit? We decided to pick San Cristobal and Santa Cruz, the two most populated islands, for two reasons. One, we didn't want to spend a lot of our time on ferries, and two, we figured more selection of hotels, restaurants, and day tours since we were planning such a last minute trip. Looking back, this turned out to be a great game plan. We spent less of our time in transit and more time enjoying what we came to the Galapagos to do. Here is a retirement travel lesson. You don't have to see everything to have an unforgettable trip. Next, we got to work trying to find places to stay. We used booking.com and had no trouble finding hotels that we loved. I had watched a few YouTube videos that assured the viewer there would be tours available to book when you got there. What if they were wrong? This was our biggest gamble. We didn't have our heart set on any particular tour. We were going to be flexible and take whatever was available. Our hotel hosts were fantastic in finding us tours with spots available. The one key thing to remember, the higher the price, the nicer the boat. With just 1 day's notice, we booked a tour to North Seymour from Santa Cruz Island and a tour to Kicker Rock from San Cristobal Island. The rest of the time, we explored on our own. We went to El Chateau Ranch and saw the giant tortoises and walked through the lava tunnels. We relaxed on a beautiful beach. We walked through the Charles Darwin centers. We explored local restaurants. Once we arrived, everything fell into place. North Seymour Island was our first organized tour. I'll be honest, the rocky terrain on the trail was pretty difficult. Wear sturdy shoes. You're out there for about an hour, and luckily the boat crew had walking sticks, which really helped me. But the reward was worth it. We saw blue footed boobies, land iguanas, magnificent frigatebirds with their red pouches, even flamingos. It was worth every sweaty step. Afterward, most of the rest of the group went snorkeling, but it was perfectly okay to stay on the yacht. So that's what Ed and I did. We went up to the front, we relaxed in the beautiful ocean breeze, and pretended this was our personal yacht. I am confident Ed thought retirement was pretty good. Now let's talk about snorkeling. Deep water can be very intimidating, and I am not a strong swimmer. My friend wanted to go on one last iconic tour, so we chose Kicker Rock. I almost talked myself out of it, but he encouraged me to face my fears and do the snorkeling in the deep water. He said, "Don't come to the Galapagos and not go snorkeling." I had even brought my prescription snorkel mask, so I had no excuse. I put on all my gear. I sat on the edge of the boat, but I couldn't jump. I was so afraid. The guide noticed and he said, "Go ahead, jump in, hold on to this life buoy, and I will pull you." I jumped in, held on to that life buoy for dear life, took a few deep breaths, and put my face down in the water. I saw sea turtles, beautiful, colorful fish. We even saw a school of spotted manta rays gliding beneath us. I snorkeled in the Galapagos. This taught me that it's okay to ask for help on an adventure. Sometimes asking for help is what makes the adventure possible. Some of my best memories of this trip weren't the tours, it was seeing the giant tortoises, relaxing on the beach, hanging out in the hot tub and the infinity pool, watching sunset while sipping champagne on our balcony. Retirement travel isn't about checking things off a list. Sometimes the best things happen when you slow down. Was this a perfect trip? Of course not. My least favorite thing, the ferry rides. Small, crowded boats bouncing across the ocean. San Cristobal to Santa Cruz is supposed to take 2 to 2.5 hours. Our driver must have thought he was a racer in the Indy 500 Pacific Ocean Division because we made it in 100 minutes. Every time we hit another wave, the boat slammed down and popped back up and slammed down again. I was hoping we would make it to Santa Cruz all in one piece. The ferry ride from Santa Cruz back to Cristobal wasn't quite as bad. but still, I was glad we had only decided to visit those two islands. You can fly between the islands, but the idea of a small 9-seater plane scared me more than the ferry boats. Another annoyance, horseflies and mosquitoes had many delicious meals on my blood. The restaurants serve you a bottle of insect repellent with the menu. There was a lot of walking and physical activity on this trip. 3 flights of stairs up to our room at one of the hotels almost finished me off. But the view, once I got up there, was worth every step. Speaking a little bit of Spanish will definitely help. I speak some Spanish, they spoke some English. We used Google Translate when we had to, but the locals are very friendly and we eventually figured everything out. If you want to see every island and have your itinerary set for you, then a cruise might be your best option. But if you want to have some freedom in your schedule, try a luxury hotel balanced with a cozy beach, B&B, linger over a good meal, take an afternoon nap, or simply enjoy wherever the day takes you, I honestly think a land-based Galapagos trip is the best bet. So how did I save those thousands of dollars? The cruise I had priced last year cost $10,000 per person for a 7-night itinerary. My land-based 10-day trip cost $4,000. Here's the breakdown. My airfare was $1,000 because I upgraded to Economy Plus. Basic economy was running about $700. My share of hotels was $1,400. The tours cost $420, ferries $70, taxis $100, food about $600. I even treated myself to a $150 massage. Be sure to budget $200 to get into the Galapagos and a $20 fee for a transit card. I took $500 in cash in small bills, and I did get a little bit more out of an ATM while I was there. Some restaurants took credit cards. The tours, one of them we had to pay cash. The ferries wanted cash. Taxi drivers wanted cash. Cash is king. Before this trip, I thought visiting the Galapagos would take months of planning. Now I know better. You absolutely can travel independently, book tours after you arrive, and even let the weather shape your plans. And you will still experience the extraordinary wildlife that the Galapagos offers. You don't have to go looking for the wildlife comes to you. Retirement has taught me something. Sometimes the greatest luxury isn't having the money to go on a trip, it's being able to say, let's go right now, even when the plan isn't perfect. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing. Thanks for joining me and Ed the Explorer on our most recent adventure. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What's one destination you've been putting off because you thought it was too expensive or too complicated to plan? Let me know in the comments, and maybe you will inspire our next adventure.